Hey guys, it's Bree. So I asked you guys on Friday what you wanted to know about cloth pads and you sent me your questions. So I've picked out I think about 9 of them and I'm just going to go straight into it and answer them for you. So the first question is, are cloth pads more comfortable than disposable pads and do they smell? Well, personally I think cloth pads are far more comfortable than disposables, but it really is a matter of preference. There are some pads which I find that don't really suit my body shape. They're a bit thicker, I don't like thicker pads, and the shape of them just doesn't work for me, and those pads are quite uncomfortable. But if I find a really thin pad and especially one that contours, which means it's really flexible and molds my body very easily, then I can sometimes forget I'm wearing that pad very easily. And if it's got a wicking fabric on top or a stay dry fabric, then I really can sometimes genuinely forget I've got a pad on. So I think they're great for that. And do they smell? No, they shouldn't smell, because disposable pads smell because they have tons of chemicals in them, and what happens is when you bleed on them, the blood reacts to those chemicals and that's what produces that really kind of foul smelling odour. But cloth pads don't have those chemicals in them, so they shouldn't smell. And if they do smell, then you probably need to go to your doctor, because usually it means you have some kind of bacterial infection like bacteria vaginosis or something else. So it's just worth getting that checked out if it is, but most of the time they won't smell. In fact, I've managed to leave some pads for a long period of time that I forgot in my wet bag and they still haven't smelled. If you have a heavy flow, can you still use cloth pads? Yes, there are many companies out there who do heavier flow pads. Probably one of the best brands that you want to try for heavy flow pads is Enviromenstrual. She's based in Australia, but she does pads with like full PUL throughout them. This isn't one of her pads, this is one of my pads, but they have like, PUL throughout the whole of the pad, and that means that you basically get a good backup. There's virtually no way you can leak through the pads, so they're pretty good because they'll have lots of absorbency in them, but they also have a really good backup system, so they're probably good pads to try. But basically just try ones with PUL in them, PUL backed or with PUL in them and fleece, so you've got kind of a double whammy against leaks. Does the fleece or minky make you feel really hot? Fleece has never made me feel really hot on the back of the pads, but minky can make me feel really warm. Don't mind it in panty liners as much, but yes, definitely it can make me feel quite warm, the minky can. I don't mind it when it's backing pads again, weirdly, but when it's on top, no. Can cloth pads come without wings? Yes, they can. The main company in the US, which is the only one I really know of, is New Moon Pads. They are especially like the pad brand for wingless pads, but there are a couple of brands the makers, if you contact them, will do wingless pads. I think Pretty Eco Intimates does it. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but you speak to a cloth pad brand you like and usually they can accommodate you, but it will cost you extra. Do you know of any UK cloth pad sellers? The two that pop straight to my head right now are Eco Rainbow. She's on Etsy and has her own website, and also Lady Days cloth pads, but there are some others like Dinky Dot Spots. She has a long customs waiting list though, and also Dimple Muff pads. I've done some reviews on these as well, but those are the 4 that I can think of right now. There are others. I think Robosaurus Rumps has just started doing them as well. She's on Facebook. Can the wetness from the soiled pad cause irritation or itching, especially for someone with a skin disorder like eczema? I actually have eczema. I don't know if you can see right there. I have it very faintly now. It used to be kind of on my shoulders. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I have got eczema, and I definitely don't get any irritation from the wet pads. The disposables would make me itch sometimes, but they never gave me like eczema on my vulva or anything like that. That would be kind of itchy, but it wouldn't get any severe like infection or anything. What else? Yeah, that was the other thing I meant to mention. If you do have a skin irritation like that and you're not sensitive to polyester, then you might want to try these 2 fabrics. Procool Wicking Jersey, it's also just known as Wicking Jersey, and also Suede Cloth. They are stay dry fabrics and they're designed to wick the moisture when you bleed on the pad away from your skin and into the pad itself. I wore a Procool pad this cycle actually, and I'll do it in my what I wore this month video, and I absolutely love them. I really feel dry when I'm wearing them, even on my heaviest day, so that might be something you want to consider trying out. But again, maybe only get one of them, because if you have got a skin condition you might get irritated by polyester. Personally, I never have, and I do prefer the Procool Wicking Jersey because it feels a bit more breathable to me, but you will only really know once you try. Suede Cloth works too, but I just prefer Procool. Is there anything plastic in a cloth pad so that it won't leak straight through? Some cloth pads do contain something called PUL. That's this material here again. Basically, it's a laminated polyester fabric, so don't know if you can hear that, but one side's really smooth and it's just basically waterproof. And some pads contain that inside, some of them like this one, as I said, this is one of my own, but some of them like this one are backed in PUL. And some of them don't have it at all. They have a polyester fleece backing, and polyester fleece is pretty moisture resistant. It's not as resistant as PUL, which you virtually cannot leak through. You have to leak around the edges of it. But yeah, that's PUL, and that's the plasticky substance that we put in our pads sometimes. Is it okay to keep cloth pads stored in my wet bag till my next period because I don't have nowhere to really put them? Yes, it's perfectly fine to do that. I presume you mean when they are clean and dry. Yes, you can definitely store them in your wet bag. The only thing I would do is not maybe zip it up completely, although it should be fine if they're dry and they're clean, to be honest. Yeah, you can just store them in your wet bag until your next period, that's absolutely fine. And the last question, last question, what would you recommend would be the best number and size of pads needed to start out? This can vary very dramatically, and I've done something like this on my website, so if you want more info on it, then just check out the link below. But I have 3 different kind of sets to start off, as I call them. I have the trial set, the starter set, and the super starter set. Those are the 3 main kind of ways that you can introduce yourself to cloth, in my opinion. The trial set is basically just where you want to try out cloth pads. You might want to try a panty liner, a regular to heavy flow pad, and a overnight pad, just to get some sort of sense of how they work and how they feel. Then the starter set is for if you want to give yourself like a proper day of almost a whole day of trying out cloth pads. So you can get 2 panty liners and then 3 regular to heavy flow pads maybe, and then an overnight pad, so that's got 6 pads in it. And then the super starter set is if you want to start out with cloth pads and have just enough so that you can get through your cycle. You don't want to spend too much because you're not sure if you'll 100% love it, but you want it just enough to get through your whole cycle. Then you probably want 3 panty liners and then 5 regular to heavy flow pads and 2 overnight pads. That's kind of my rough suggestion for that. Obviously, you can make it work with just 6 regular pads, but personally I think you want to try out the different sizes as well and get more if you're heavy, so you can kind of cope with that, and just work out how many you'll use on a normal day of disposables, how often you change them, and then do the same with cloth pads because you wear them for the same length of time really. And if you want to make them work extra long, so use them again, as soon as you take it off, just rinse it out in your sink, and then you can just let it dry on a radiator, or you can put it in your dryer if you're on a very low heat, and that will dry it out and you can use it again that cycle. I do know people who've managed to use just 5 cloth pads for their entire cycle, but to be comfortable you probably want more than that. So I hope that helped answer your questions, guys. That's all. Thanks for watching so much. Check out my links below and I will talk to you later.